Let's face it, there's a lot of things you can get wrong when doing cold calling. I've made probably 1,000 of them. That's why I have so many episodes. But there are three things that you should master, and we're going to break down exactly what they are and how you go about doing so. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have the one and only Mr. Tanner Stewart. Now, Tanner and I did this episode a while back, and this is a one that I'm pulling from the archive. As you've seen for the past several episodes, I've been really focusing on the cold calling and trying to help you to get things right and get your head focused, especially under the changes we've seen with Apple. And I spoke about that a couple episodes ago. Now, the thing that I want you to understand from this call is that there's not one thing that you're going to learn that's going to make your cold calling the best in the world. You have to find iterations, you have to apply, you have to try, and you just improve. Tanner, however, is going to break down what he found as he leads a team of sellers. And now Tanner, he's definitely evolved over the years and is a little bit more successful than where he was. But the principle that he shared back then are the same things that are applying right now in many of the different industries that you're working in, that can help you when it comes to your team or yourself doing better cold outreach. Listen to what Tanner shares and see how you can apply them. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, subscribe, and I'll make sure we notify you every time. Our episodes fall under one of two buckets. Either one, something around you doing outreach more effectively or getting opportunities, or just building pipeline. And number two, how you can accelerate deals through that pipeline. In this episode, we're going into the first, and we're going to give you some ideas of how you can make sure you actually get some deals up on that pipe. As we dive in, you get a chance to see why Tanner is so passionate about this, but specifically how he's going about implementing it. You're going to love it. Tanner, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here.
I'm pumped. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a fun conversation. Because no matter what you're doing right now, cold outreach is a part of, seems like, everyone's game. Like you got to be doing it, and if
sure.
not, you got to figure out a way to do it and do it right. And I think for most people who have a struggle with cold outreach is because that's one of those things. They're not doing it right, or don't necessarily know what they need to be doing to maximize their success. So I'm looking forward to pick your brain a little bit to dive into this. But before I do, tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, man.
Yeah, so right now I'm working at Home Care Pulse. Got my little polo on here.
There you go.
I'm actually recently a account executive for the last quarter. I was an AE. Before that, I was a BDR for like almost 2 years, year and a half. So definitely been used to cold outreach. It's a common theme. Still doing it every day. So.
And you see, no matter where you go, no matter what role you're taking up, you still got to do it right, and you gotta have some success with it. From out the gate, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that sellers face, that you faced, or you're coming up against right now when it comes to cold outreach?
Yeah, I think this might not be as applicable as what we're going to talk about later today, but I think a lot of sales is people think, man, I have to have the perfect phone call. I got to be so smooth. I have to have an answer for every objection. But on the front end of everything, you have to know which people to call in the first place. So when you're prospecting and mining, if you're calling 100 of the completely wrong people every day, you could be an amazing seller and have little to no success. So I think that's what I've come to realize more and more recently is, how can I focus on the right people to call and then maximize those opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's a critical component. I am a big fan of utilizing some like intent tools. So LinkedIn has one of their key tools coming out in the next little bit here. It's called LinkedIn Deep Sales, but I think it goes to what you're saying there, helping to eliminate that guessing game, but getting to focus on the right people and then the right messaging towards them. So
right.
All right. Well, with that though, like understanding that, we talked about three cold calling, three outreach phone strategies that sellers need to be aware of, or like BDR should be considering and whatnot. But three things every BDR must master when it comes to cold calls. So let's dive into them. Why don't you tell us those three things first, and then we can double back and we'll take about take a few minutes each on them and discuss them at length. That
Sure.
sounds fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would say the three things. The first one is to be a human and treat your
Okay.
prospects like they're humans, because they are. The second is product selling versus solution selling. And the third
Okay.
is asking questions and knowing when, how, and what questions are important to ask.
Okay. Well, let's dive into the human part because that's something that people say. Like I feel like it's sometimes it just gets placed with like platitudes, like yeah, we know you need to be a human,
Right.
but it doesn't get done. So define that to me, what you mean by it, and then we can go
Hmm.
into some examples of how we can do that.
Yeah, I think a big part of being human right off the bat is when you ask someone how they're doing, how they've been, how their week is going. Um, you have to actually mean it, right? Be genuinely interested in how they're doing. Um, and then I think when they ask you how you're doing, don't just say good and boom, like here's my pitch. Give them give them something, right? Oh, it is Monday, after all, so I'm getting
Yeah.
through it. Just be a human, right? Um, People smell out the fake salesman stuff all the time, but they also
Hmm.
smell out if you're just being genuine really quickly, right? And I think that helps them bring their guard down when you could just be a little bit more human. I love to just like crack little small jokes, like about Friday or Monday or whatever. So I think that's a good place to start for sure.
Well, what are some of the give me some examples of what's not you? And you gave me some one there with like just diving in with the hello and
Yeah,
um but how do I mean because I don't know this person, and let's say I'm doing cold outreach to them and I'm sure they're busy, but how do I have enough prep to be able to have that human side of a
yeah,
conversation in such a short window?
yeah. I think the second component of being a human, of what I um, have tried to work on, is um, starting a call with, instead of here's how we help you, here's what we're doing, here I'm Home Care Pulse, here's my pitch, right? That's seller Tanner talking, not human Tanner talking. So one thing I love, and just a quick example, if I was to call you Donald and say, hey, I could help your marriage, do you need help? You might say, whoa, hold on, my marriage is fine, I don't need help, right? Or I could help you get a girlfriend, right? They're going to say, hold on, I'm doing okay. Um, so I think the human part of that is giving them some data, giving them some value. So I used to start calls with, we can help you with this, we can help you with this, we can help you with this. And everyone was pretty guarded, right? And now I've
Hmm.
said, hey, I've been talking to a few folks in Texas. Here's what I'm seeing are some of the trends. Are those the same things you're seeing as well? And I'm providing them some value. And I
Hmm.
think that's part of being human as well, is a give and take. Here's some value. Here's what I'm seeing from other people. I have the advantage of talking to 50 people every single day, other agency owners. You don't. Are you seeing
Yeah.
those same things as well? So now, instead of just saying, here's my pitch, are you interested? Or, hey, we help with this, it's, this is what I'm seeing. Are those the same things you're seeing? And if they're not, then what is it? I'm so curious. So it's having
Yeah.
that genuine interest in how they're doing, how their success is, and then building off of that and being good enough to bring that back into what you are doing and how you do help agencies.
Yeah, and I like that. The strategy there of coming with the consultant type of mindset,
Yeah,
where because the last thing these people want is for somebody that's going to interrupt them and try to sell them something. If somebody can give me something that's going to help my business, that's a whole different conversation.
right.
And if you can help my business, I'm naturally going to think there's a way I need to compensate you for that, and that's probably your product or your service or
Yeah,
whatnot. Um, so I like that. With go back to the first part of like the you know one of the thoughts came to mind too. And instead of just doing the hello, yeah, I'm doing great. Um, uh, this I feel like the urge at times to just fire back and get into the sales mode is a fear of losing that op or fear of losing that convo,
Yeah.
right? Like, I got a live one and they're right here. Let me not be human. Let me just give them the pitch. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know what like the averages across the board, but I
Mm-hmm.
think our connection rate is like 18%, 15, 18%. So you call
Yeah.
100 people, those 15 that answer, you're like, oh my gosh, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I
That should
think
be
some
precious.
ways, yeah, yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't lose this. Can't mess this up. So I think part of that is being present while you're on the phones. You know, you can't be like scrolling through LinkedIn on your other monitor. You've got to be present so that when they do answer, it's not catching you off guard. 'Cause that's definitely happened, I think, to all of us, right?
Guilty.
They're like, hello? You're like, hi.
You were not supposed to be answering.
so I think being present will actually definitely help. And then once they do say like, "How you doing?" Don't be afraid. I think that is a huge. We could throw that in with being a human. Don't be afraid of the interaction. Don't be afraid of anything that we talk about today. Don't be afraid to give someone a genuine response of how your day is actually going. You know, oh man, I just got back from lunch, so I'm trying to get over the post lunch blues. I'm a little tired, but you know, people relate with that sort of thing more than you might think, and give them something to try and relate to rather than just doing your pitch, right? There's no way they're going to just be like, oh, yeah, I definitely resonate with exactly what you're saying, pitching me right now, right? Give them something to go
Mm-hmm.
off of.
Yeah. So be natural, be present, and listen to them. And that gives me an opportunity to respond. Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then once that does happen, they're going to say, what can you help me out with? I can still apply the human side of that by going into the natural way of the conversation. You know, you like say, you know, well, I've been having conversation with people across, you know, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some of the things the sales leaders are pointing out, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I feel, yeah, because I see how much more I would be willing or apt to listen to you, Tanner, rather than Tanner, sales rep
Mm-hmm.
or BDR
Yeah. And
in a
I would,
situation
I
like
would
that.
throw in there as well, you got to add some credibility. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, hey, my name's Tanner. We work with, 100 agencies
Yeah.
across Texas, the ones I've been talking to recently, and then you go into it. Just to give them a little bit of like, well, hold on, how do you know that? Or why should
Yeah.
I give you something back based on your insight? So I think that's important, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to say we have 1,222 customers across the United States, just something quick. And then you could give them kind of a something, right, to go off of and see if they're seeing or running into those same things.
Love it. Let's go into the next point here. So now
Okay.
I'm being human. The product, you know, when you're doing the cold outreach, it's very tempting to go into the product knowledge
Right.
versus like offering the solution. Talk to me about what you mean by this.
Yeah. So I guess if we segue from what we were just talking about, if I say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're seeing troubles with recruitment and retention across the board, are you guys seeing that same thing? If they say, yeah, like who's not seeing that these days, right? Hiring sucks. No one wants to work. That is not my invitation to say, well, Home Care Pulse, here's what we do, right? Um, I think one of the things I actually wrote down was avoid the temptation to deep dive into your product, because there will be
Mm.
perfect segues that, yeah, I actually am struggling with that. You're like, yes, thank you, I got him on the phone.
Let's role play that one though
Okay.
for real. Like, I like that example, and this is guys, this isn't Tanner and I didn't plan this at all. That this role play. So I'm gonna drop that and say something like, let's say I just said that, yeah, Tanner, man, yeah, right now it's just like people are complaining for people don't want to work. I can't find people to do work, and it's frustrating on that side.
Yeah, definitely. And you're not the only one that I've been hearing that saying that. It's across the board right now. Um, I guess my question would be to that: what are you guys doing to combat those shortages and those difficulties?
Ooh, not tempting. You didn't bite on it to go jump in.
Right. So,
Good.
like you
Yeah.
said, that being consultative throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, I
that's one
feel
example.
like if like I don't know, like when I think about when these people are not my friends, and but I can relate in some way the principles. Like when I talk to my buddies and they're I give them a complaint about what's going on in life, or like, man, sucks so bad, my need to buy new tires for the car. They're not going to say, oh shucks, hey, do you want to come and buy some of my services?
Right. Yeah.
They're like, holy crap, like new tires. So what kind of tires do you typically drive? What happened? Did you get a flat or
Yeah.
tire blowout?
Uh-huh.
You know, and
Yeah.
even if I can help you with something that's not directly in my wheelhouse, like give you some thoughts, you're gonna say, "Well, what can I help you with today, Donald?" Well, and then I go into my pitch.
Right.
That again, you're endearing me to that conversation, and it's not just like product pitch, product pitch.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of sales methodology of like you need their permission to pitch them,
Hmm.
right? You need to ask them for their time. I think it's a very organic way. If you say, "Well, what are you guys doing?" and then they respond, and then there's that curiosity, and then they just naturally
Yeah,
say, "Well, Tanner, like what do you guys do? What are you calling me about?" Then that's an invitation. They're asking you, they're curious. Then you could tell them a little bit more about, why you're calling. But absolutely.
man, so good. Give me what else should I know when it comes towards that the temptation for product spewing?
Yeah, I think there's this temptation to talk about like certain features that we have. Um,
Hmm.
like, oh man, it's going to save you so much time, and 22% of the people get more revenue, and they, like you want to just give them all this information, which is not bad, but I think it goes back to the beginning. Let's relate what I'm telling them back to what they're telling me. So
Mm.
if recruitment and retention are our main challenges, what part of my product or service is geared towards that? And then I would even go a step further. I would give them the value of doing something like that. So Home Care Pulse does experience management surveys. I might say, you know, Donald, we've seen the importance of feedback as it pertains to recruitment or retention and how important that is. Are you guys doing any sort of feedback internally right now? You say no or yes. I can then say, that's awesome. Here's what Home Care Pulse is doing, and here's how we're different. And here's how we can help you in those challenges that you mentioned at the beginning of the call. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I love that. Again, it gives me this opportunity to know that there is like one, you care enough for what I'm doing to help alleviate that pain or challenge that I have, and then also two, giving me really like, and I think you mentioned this as well, like being talented enough to be able to just to tie that in some way to you
Right.
when it gets to that point, because I feel like the days of the order takers are long gone. And if you're still an order taker and you're around, like I don't know how you're surviving, but God bless you. But it's like the dinosaurs. Like you need to get past. We need to get past that. And the buyers don't want the order takers. They really
Right.
want those people who can, you know, deeply address their most dying issues, and they want us to know their issues in some cases beforehand too,
Right. Right.
to best help them. So, and you can't. There's no way in the world you can do that from just spewing your product. So I love that point.
Yeah.
All right. So the third thing that you have on your list is the question asking or asking questions. Um, Talk to me a little bit more about this one.
Yeah. I think we've mentioned it briefly throughout the whole thing. And that's why I love these three different steps is they all kind of just weave
They're like,
together. Um,
yeah,
um, so just like that temptation to dive into your product, great time to ask a question. You know, um, once they tell you something, if you had told me, I asked you, well, what are you guys doing to to help with recruitment or retention? And you tell me, well, we're on LinkedIn and we're doing tons of different outreach on Indeed. Well, I might follow that up with, is that working? How's that going?
mm,
I think it's a trap we all fall into. Oh man, I got some information from them. That was my discovery, and then you base your whole call off that. Well, if you had told me no, it's not really working, or if you told me yeah, that is working, then that takes a call in a whole new direction with a really simple question: is that working? How's that going?
yeah,
Tell me more about that. Um, we do have feedback in house that we do actually. That's great. Tell me a little bit more about that. What does that look like? What sort of feedback are you guys getting? How often? Right? Those little follow up questions um, to help you dig a little bit deeper.
That's one of my favorite ones. Tell me a little bit more about that. I like throwing in there like even some emotions like interesting. Tell me a
Yeah,
little bit more about that.
yeah,
And I feel you're right. Like it does like um, prompt for further dialogue. And go back to yes, they do all intertwined. I think when I made those mistakes before as a BDR, it was again I think it was more my confidence in myself, not even confidence in the company per se, but it was just like
yeah,
confidence in myself. So here I am talking to somebody who's maybe obviously my senior, they're an executive, and then I'm talking to them, but I feel like that subservient idea. I can't question Tanner and follow up with anything another question. He's
yeah.
already given me enough time to just be here.
Right.
I should just try to get that demo and just get out of here.
Yeah. And that leads me into the other part of asking questions is I went through it 100%. I will never not say I
Hmm.
went through it. Once they agree to the demo, man, we are all just like, holy shoot, let me get you the link and then I'm done. Like, here's the link. I'm out of here. Please.
Make sure nothing else can go wrong.
Yeah. Please forgive me. Please don't cancel the meeting we just scheduled 30 seconds ago, right? Um, that is
Yeah.
the perfect time to qualify them. So they say, yeah, sure, Tanner, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. That works great. Okay, perfect. Let me ask you just a few quick questions before I let you go. That way we can make sure this is going to be a good use of your time and ours. People
Hmm.
appreciate that. They want to know, okay, sure, I'll answer a few questions. I'm telling them it's only going to be a few. I'm not going to
Yeah.
interrogate you. I know you probably do need to go. And sometimes I'll even say that as a way to book the demo. Hey, I realize this is the middle of your workday, but based on what you're telling me, I feel like we should continue the discussion. Let me ask you a few questions to make sure you qualify, for what we're doing. Um,
Mm.
that's You have free reign right there to ask them some really deep questions. You might know pretty well what they're hoping to get out of the meeting, but one I like to ask is, if you had a magic wand, what do you hope that home care pulse is going to be able to do for you? Tuesday at
Yeah.
4, what are you hoping to gain out of that meeting? And those are great notes for either myself, if I'm the AE, or if I'm the BDR, to throw those down and loop in the AE so we can get a really good idea. What are they hoping? And then you're giving your AE more time to actually show value rather than do discovery.
Come on. I love it. Absolutely amazing. Man, you hit on some good stuff here. And I feel like anyone who's listening to this, no matter if you're selling as a BDR or if you're an AE, or even if you're an entrepreneur just listening to this and you're in charge of selling for your org, like these things can apply and help you out so much. I think they're straight up down to earth and can help you land a couple more appointments. So, Tanner, if there's one major piece of advice from this that you want folks to leave with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I would just say don't be afraid to be yourself and be human. At the end of the day, as scary as someone's title might be, deep down they're human as well, right? And to differentiate yourself is that easy. Just be yourself. Everyone else is the uptight, right to the point salesman. Be the one who's a little bit more relaxed, and that will show your confidence as well. So that's what works for me. Be human, be yourself, and just enjoy it.
Love it, man. Tanner, if folks want to get in touch with you or learn about your organization, some of the cool things you guys are doing, what's the best way for them to do so?
You could just reach out to me on LinkedIn, Tanner Stewart.
Tanner, thank you, man, for coming on the show. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
thanks so much.
Hey, that was Tanner Stewart. Tell him you heard him here on The Sales Evangelist. Connect with him on LinkedIn. As always, I want you to thrive and I want you to succeed. And importantly, the principles that he shared here, I mean, they're not the end of the world. They're not like the only three things. And I'm sure when we bring Tanner back, he'll probably bring some more insights of iteration, but the principles still apply. And I want you to test it out and I want you to try it and I want you to let us know. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want to be able to practice, you can also come and check out our mastermind. this is where sellers like yourself, small groups, get a chance to share insights, practice, get improvement on how they can be better in their role. Many times we work in companies where we don't get a chance to learn from others, or we don't even have the opportunity to practice. But imagine you getting together and you have other sellers that are also doing same thing that you're doing, and it can bring to you things that's working for them and how you can improve on that and get practice and help. This is the most important part. And it's fun too, by the way. We'd love for you to check it out. We changed pricing recently, and I think you'd love it. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind to learn more. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking, but most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.